This is the Retro Inc. podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back to Retro Inc. with myself, Adam, my co-host Jeremy, and
Hello,
Andy. Hello. Jeremy, we've had a lovely day out today, haven't we? Meeting up with all of us at a big shopping mall, and our kids were with us. It was a lovely day out. We had some good times going into the Lego store, Disney store, HMV. Was there anything today you fancied picking up but didn't?
loads. Most of HMV, to be fair. I could quite happily go in and spend a fortune there. I don't think I could rescue them single-handedly, but there's always things. The T-shirts. I mean, if they did like grown-up size, I'd buy T-shirts in there.
Grown-up size. What, XXXL?
Yeah. Or grown-up size, yeah.
The grown-up size, yeah. 4XL.
Yeah.
You picked out some pretty wicked horror films today. What did you pull out? I can't remember what you.
Oh well, there was obviously American Werewolf in London was one of the ones we were looking at. It was just some retro ones. You pulled out Hereditary, which I've still not seen.
He's but just trying to solve the root of his hair loss problems.
I haven't got any problems with hair loss. I'm brilliant at hair loss.
Yeah, you're out.
My hair loss is exemplary.
Mate, I'm not taking the rise out of you. I'm going for Adam tonight.
He's outnumbered. We've got him. He can't go anywhere. Yeah, Hereditary. You really should see. It's a fabulous movie. Yeah, you pulled out some really good ones though. There's a couple of Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers was one. Yeah. Poltergeist was another one.
They had that in there, did they? How much?
They did, yeah. £7.
No, it was one of the £2 for £10 ones, wasn't it?
£2 it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be 5 then.
Yeah.
That's a cracking film.
And
then, so we had a good route around, lots of Funko Pops, and then Andy joined us for a little light beverage. It was great to see you, mate, and thank you for the gifts today.
Oh, thank you, mate. They're very nice. You gifted me some lovely little vintage beaters, so they'll make a fine addition to my collection.
Oh, what did he didn't show me. What did he give you?
Well, before I start, I actually, when I got back here, I found there was 2 also I'd left out that I didn't put in the bag. So when me and Jake were packing the bag, they obviously didn't go in, so there wasn't as many as you should have had.
You did good today with the distribution of goods, didn't you?
Yes. Well, you got a nice bag full of stuff, so that's our Patreon. But yeah, what did I give you figures wise?
You gave me Weequay, didn't you? Oh no, Skiff-Guard, wasn't it? Skiff-Guard. The Ewok, what's his name? Oh, what one did you give me?
Chief Chirper,
thank you. And the droid, the
FX7.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So yeah, and then they're already up in my room with the others.
Well, what you could have had extras as well today was
let's see what you could have won.
You could have won Han Solo in his Endor gear.
Nice. A speedboat.
And you could have won also General Medine and his white spatula.
Nice. How's his beard looking?
He's nice, crispy, minty figure that. Yeah. But next time we'll see it, or I'll whack it in a jiffy bag and send it to you in the post. Yeah, Jeremy, the HMV situation seems to be either sorted itself out or seems to have gone very quiet since they announced that it was under administration and having huge problems.
It seems to have gone quiet, and there was a lot of people in there, but I don't know whether they were buying anything or they were just browsing and getting ideas, and then going online and buying it from Amazon, who then don't pay any tax for it.
This is the problem. So,
well, we both looked at some stuff, and we both said, didn't we? We can actually get that 50% less.
yeah.
And even with the 5 for 30 deal on the Blu-rays, which isn't a bad deal, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair, if I was still collecting them, that's where I would go, because I could quite easily find 5 for 20 or 30 quid that I'd enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Andy, you're a bit short on the old Blu-ray and DVD collection, aren't you? Because you don't have that many. You have one.
I have one Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Oh no, I tell a lie. I have 3 Blu-rays because I have the first 2 Lord of the Rings films. So I found them in the power shop of all places on Blu-ray, but they didn't have. No, 2 and 3 I've got. They didn't have the Fellowship of the Ring, which was quite irritating. But yeah, I've got
that's my favourite one as well of them.
The first one. It's a lovely film, isn't it?
General... One and 2 for me, they go kind of hand in hand. Number 3 is a very different beast. It's not as good as the other 2, but it's obviously necessary. I don't think it's any worse. It's just not. There's no grandeur to it to me. Like, I know it won 11 Oscars, but I think that we've said it before when we spoke about the Oscars on the Oscars special we did. No, it wasn't me and you. That was something else. But I spoke about it on Oscars before, and that film won 11 Oscars because of the other 2 films. It was
that was a lot of group effort.
Yeah, the other 2 didn't really win anything, and then this one cleaned up, and it was recognising the effort of the whole trilogy. I think when it did that, and that's understandable, and I'll allow that. But to me, number 1's quaint, cute, really sets the world up nicely with the Shire, and that first meeting between Gandalf and Frodo's adorable. Number 2's got some better action in it. It really starts to turn that tone of the franchise, and obviously you get to meet Gollum properly as well in that. So
Peter Jackson's Mortal Engines has done very, very poor, hasn't it, at the box office?
I'm not surprised.
It just didn't look very good. I didn't fancy it.
Now, this is a Peter Jackson production, isn't it? It's not a directed by.
No, and also it's a film. It's a book, isn't it? This is what you've got to remember. And I think, first of all, the ship of that franchise has sailed. That's an old franchise.
To be fair, Lord of the Rings isn't exactly a new one.
No, I know. But there's things that are classics, aren't there? And there's things that are products of their time. And there's a fan base involved there from when those books come out. That fan base is a lot older now.
Like Twilight and all that lot.
Yeah, exactly. Prime example, actually, mate. That's a good analogy. My wife absolutely loved Twilight when it came out. We saw all the films at the cinema. I quite enjoy the films, I'm not going to lie. Tried the books, didn't like them. Don't mind the films. But we don't watch them now because that was a product of its time. That shit, like I say, that was 10 years ago that we was into that. And if it was on, I'd probably watch it and go, yeah, all right. But it's not something I'd seek out anymore. And there are some things like that. There's things that aren't Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. We'll continue for the rest of our lives with those things. But I think sometimes you just grow out of it.
Do you not think that Twilight's worth a revisit then? What would you say?
I watched the first one. And that was... sparkly vampires are worse than running zombies. They were just total pants. Didn't like it at all.
Andy, your thoughts?
Well, he's right. It's not very good, but I enjoy it. It's just one of those things I can sit there and say that there are parts of that story that really do not bother me. I don't care for the relationship thing. I don't care about the lovers triangle and all of that. I enjoy the rest of it, the lore and that. I think I like the vampires in it. I like the way that the Cullens have integrated themselves into society and try and just be good and just be normal, and I like that side of it, and I like the relationship with the werewolves and how they describe that as a tribe. They are proper tribes living on their land in native parts of America where they still own the land, and I really like that, and that keeps that unit close, and that shows why they can be so guarded and hidden over the years. I like all that sort of mythology and that to it. I enjoy movies.
I preferred the mythology in True Blood if they're going to live,
Oh mate, I love that series. That's why my cat's called Suki.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So big fan of that. Big fan of that series, and I do love the mythology in that, especially set in the Deep South.
Yeah.
I think black magic, vampires, voodoo, all of that stuff really works in that setting.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest games, actually, one of my favourite games growing up was actually Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father. I don't know if you ever played it. It's a point-and-click adventure, and it's set in New Orleans. And he's a bookshop owner, and it's kind of private detective, and he has to solve this case that's all to do with voodoo and everything. It's all set in the French Quarter in New Orleans. It's a great game. It's got this beautiful aesthetic and vibe to it. You feel like you're being sucked into that world. It's very akin to True Blood, the way it feels when you start playing it. That's what made me think of that. But yeah, it's a great game if you get a chance.
I was going to say, is there anything gaming-wise that is on that kind of vampire level? And you've just nailed it there. What's back on Amazon Prime is the wonderful What We Do in the Shadows.
On Amazon Prime, yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Not Netflix, no.
It's not on Netflix.
Just on Amazon Prime. Okay, mate.
It's just on Amazon Prime. I've watched it 1.5 times since it was put back on, and it is just.
What half did you watch the second time?
Well, my son was watching it with me the second time, and he just found it very uneasy. I think he really did believe that it was real. He really did.
That's psycho for you.
He found it a little bit uneasy, and I said, "Okay, fine, don't worry, we'll watch something else." But he found it very uneasy. I don't think the couple of times that Peter made him jump. And he just found it a little bit awkward. He couldn't quite deal with it. I think there was a certain. I mean, unlike Freddie, Jeremy's son, who's seen all the Alien versus Predator films and everything else. My son he's not quite there with that kind of thing. But yeah, he found it very awkward to watch. I think he found it too realistic, which is amazing because it's a mockumentary and so it obviously did its job really well. Very believable. I love the way that they play on, the sort of the generalistic way that they can't be seen in a mirror. They can use hypnosis, don't like garlic, all the usual kind of stuff, and they really play on it. Jeremy, you haven't seen it yet, have you?
No, I did try it once, and I couldn't get on with it. I will give it another go when I can sit down to watch it.
You need to be in a very silly mood. It's one of those.
Oh, well, that's going to be a trouble for me because I'm always very serious.
Well, what I wanted to talk about as well was another film that I know, Andy, you love, which is The Little Shop of Horrors. Now, there's a couple of films that I wanted to just talk about because these I were going to talk about in the Patreon, but I just thought, you know what, let's just deal with this now because we're on this kind of theme here. Little Shop of Horrors, Rocky Horror Show. Those two particularly, I find I don't get the hype. I don't really get the humor. I just don't get it. So they have a little bit of that kind of horror vibe to them. But they have this very, very stupid sense of humor, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I find them very uneasy. What do you feel about those two?
I like Little Shop of Horrors, and I adore Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think it's brilliant because it's got Tim Curry, so that pretty much makes something good, really.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never really sat and watched Rocky Horror. I know it. I've seen a lot of it. I've seen, but I've never sat and watched Rocky Horror. So I've got to get around to doing that. As for Little Shop of Horrors, phenomenal. Love it, man. Absolutely love that film.
I think maybe I'm just more cultured than you, and I appreciate musicals more.
Don't even go there, right? Okay.
I like a musical. Apart from I don't get Moulin Rouge.
I love it.
I didn't get that. It's too trippy. Didn't like it. But Mamma Mia, I'm all over that.
Oh God, no.
Drawing the line there.
That's not a musical. That's an abhorrent piece of toot.
All right, Pierce Brosnan's not a good singer. I'll give you that. But the
He's
rest
not a
of
good
them
Bond either. So tell me what he is good at.
Well, my next
Remington
thing was
Steele.
well, the
Mrs.
thing I was going
Doubtfire.
to. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Remington Steele, isn't that a razor?
He was good in Mrs. Doubtfire. There you go.
So I wanted to talk about as well. There's the sort of the Star Trek news, which is on Jean-Luc Picard and the linking up with the end of Star Trek Nemesis and going into linking up with JJ's films via this supernova, which Spock was involved with, and linking up. Jeremy, being a bit of a Trekkie fan, pleased with that news?
Anything that's got more Patrick Stewart in, I'm good with. Whatever venture it's going to be, I like Patrick Stewart. So yeah, and Star Trek is always fun.
And Andy, Andy mentioned today as well. He was talking about tech from Next Gen. You two were talking about Star Trek Generation and some of the tech, and it is still quite phenomenal, isn't it, when you look back at that series and what it was showing us for the future. Andy.
Sorry, I didn't realise you were talking to me. Yeah, it is, mate.
Some of the things you're bringing up, I mean, obviously iPad, what else was there?
Yeah, there's smartwatches, iPads,
Skype calls.
Yeah, Skype calls, essentially video calls. I mean, this is all stuff, I mean, you watch it, you don't really pay attention to it. But if you actually think about when those come out, I mean, when was it, TNG? That was 88, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
88. And I mean, you look at other things from around that time. I mean, Star Wars was only, 9 years before, 10 years before that, say, right? And they had vector green grids on screens. And, then you look at
Jedi was 83, wasn't it? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So I mean, you're talking 5 years before that in Jedi. They're still using the idea of things like vector graphics and things for tracking systems, and then you go to the TNG and they're using voice calls, video calls, and they've got tablets that they're walking around using. They've got smartwatches there, and that was visionary for its time. It really was visionary, and it did take a weird step backwards. Do you remember what one was it? First Contact, was that the one with the Bald Queen?
Yes, it was. Sure. Yeah, I think
is that Insurrection or whatever one? The one is with the Bald Queen with Alice Krieg playing the Bald Queen. When Picard gets taken to the cube and he gets put on that rack. Do you remember back in the old funky shops with lights and stuff? You had the disc with the plasma lines coming off of them. They use them. All of them have got them behind their heads. And I mean, that was the time when, as well, they were popular, those lights. I thought, even when I watched it in the cinema, I thought, what have they done that for? It looks really bad, like really cheap. So, yeah, TNG's had its up and downs over the years, especially with the movies. I think there's been some not very good ones. They're just like long episodes, though. I always think it's hard with film, with TV shows making films, is you are just making a long episode. 90% of the time.
And most of them don't work well.
No, they don't. I liked First Contact because it told a nice contained story about the first contact, the hype, the warp drive being created by Farmer Hoggett, Adam's doppelganger. He created it. And that was a nice contained story because they went back in time, didn't they?
Yeah. Jason Statham wasn't in Star Trek.
Yeah, his gimpier brother was.
Do you find that the other way around, though, when they turn movies into TV shows, they tend to be all right?
Yeah, look at Serenity. Serenity is a prime example of that with Firefly. That is a great film, and I know people that have watched Serenity and not seen Firefly, and can still understand and enjoy that movie. And
I watched that before I watched Firefly, actually. Yeah, true.
yeah, and it's a really good film. The series is fantastic, but they did a good job of the movie. It wasn't something that I watched and was like, oh, that didn't do it justice. But next gen, anything like you say, going back to that, anything with Picard, with Patrick Stewart in, I'm all on board for, because as well, I think he's the sort of person that if he didn't like the stuff that he read and wasn't behind the project 100%, he'd be vocal about it and let everyone know. So
he wouldn't do it, would he?
No, he wouldn't do it. I mean, this and that leaves me with a lot of faith in the project. The Star Trek reboot. I mean, I don't know if you heard the other news this week that it looks like number 4 has been cancelled completely, which is a shame. But I'm not 100% bothered about. We got a nice trilogy out of those movies, very good trilogy out of those movies. And if they're building on this with Discovery and this new Picard next gen thing and building it into this modern universe, then that's cool with me. You know, I'm happy to see more of Star Trek. And as always with Star Trek, it's been in a different capacity every 8 to 10 years.
It evolves, doesn't it? They do it really well.
It does. And there are some bad ones. I didn't like Enterprise. But again, it's like Star Wars. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to watch that. I've watched a couple of episodes of Enterprise, didn't like it. I've never watched it, and it does not affect my knowledge of Star Trek that I watch. It doesn't affect me that way. They might bring up characters, but it's always a nod and a tip of the hat to those people. It's not something you have to be on the know and the lowdown for, because otherwise they'll explain it during that episode. And I avidly watched Voyager when it was on, and I didn't like Janeway, but the rest of the cast and crew I thought were brilliant.
He's her lieutenant in that. He's in Night of the Comet. Just thought I'd put that out there.
Chakotay.
Yeah.
The one with the facial
tattoo.
Yeah.
The very young one of him in Night of the Comet, which is a Christmas movie.
Of all the Star Trek, though, my favourite was the animated series, which was from 73 to 74.
And he had to ruin it.
Do you know, it is so damn good. Obviously, he's got the original voice actors, but it's a brilliant thing to watch.
Not a fan of the original series, mate.
I like the Voyage Home, the 4th movie with the whales.
Whales, yeah.
That's the best Star Trek movie. I'm sorry, all the people who like Rafa Khan, but the whale one's the best one.
I'm not a fan of Rafa Khan. I'm not a fan of the original series, to be honest with you. There's some bits I can appreciate it for its necessity for where we are now.
It was groundbreaking in its day with Kirk and Uhura having a kiss.
Well,
that
it's not
a big
first
thing.
interracial kiss on TV, wasn't it? But it's one of those things where I can appreciate its importance to modern pop culture, its position where it sits in shaping what we have in TV and film now, and I understand its impact because as a Star Wars fan, I can see that from the other side. If you're a proper Trekkie, then I get it and I understand that, and more power to you. I don't like the original series.
What about the original motion? The original motion picture in 1979.
Terrible.
Didn't like that.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was made because of Star Wars.
I had the figures.
That's all it was made for, mate. They made Star Wars and they went, we need to get this out. I mean, how many years was that after the end of the original series? It was like nearly 10 years, wasn't it? I think after the original run of.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at least. And
69, it finished the original Star Trek series.
There you go. So, I mean, what was that, 1978, 79?
So 79 was a motion picture. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I mean, it was a rush production. There's some real terrible gaffes in that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen them going up the turbo lift. And the numbers change every floor. 22, 7, 48, 13 as they're going through. And it's just, I don't know, it doesn't ring true to me, that film. Kirk was too old at that point as well. It's a shame what happened with those movies because I think had they been made 6 or 7 years before Star Wars, they might have done a bit better.
Rather Khan, I thought, in 1982 was pretty good. Insurrection was the one that I was really poor. In the Undiscovered Country, is that? I can't really remember that.
That's number 6. That is Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, I can't really remember that one very much.
That
Search for
is...
Spock, which was number 3, which was 1984.
Yeah.
That one wasn't bad. But I think
the Genesis thing, isn't it? And the
yeah.
Spock dies, but he's reborn. It all gets all a bit allegorical there. I think a little bit weird, to be honest with you. It's the whole almost like Lister and Red Dwarf, the Ouroboros, isn't it? The being his own father, and that Spock story. Yeah. I wasn't a big fan, to be honest. That's a bit weird. But then Star Trek's going in weird places now, so I can't moan.
So in terms of Red Dwarf, mate, do you think they'll kick that off again at any point? Do you think we might see another series of Red Dwarf?
Yeah, we've just had one. We've just had one. It's still going, mate. Still going very strong. It is one of the series. It is BBC's. I think it's now British TV's longest running program, like comedy TV series. That was started 84, wasn't it? 86, something around then. Or was it 80s? Oh God, it was early 80s. You're gonna find out for me, aren't you, Adam? But if you actually look at IMDb's listing for it, it says whatever year it started to whenever. It doesn't actually give a date. BBC have never cancelled Red Dwarf. It's never been cancelled. It's not something that they've cancelled and then brought back. It's in their eyes, and I was reading an interview about it, and in their eyes they look at it as something that will never end until they want to end it, until the actors themselves want to end it. There's always stuff to tell in that Red Dwarf universe, which is true because you can play on it. Even if they're 70 years old and still on that ship, it works. Because what would happen? You'd be floating through deep space. You're going to live your life out. I mean, so you never have to stop telling those stories. And I like that there's always that chance to go back to it. Red Dwarf took a massive dip after season 6. And you had Rob Grant and Doug Naylor fall out. So I can't remember which one of them stopped writing. The season, I think is it season 8 or 9 was the first one. I think it's season 8 was the first one not filmed in front of a live studio audience and doesn't have a laughter track. And if you actually watch that, it becomes very apparent the style and the tone of everything changed drastically. And that took a lot of the comedy away. They put them back on Red Dwarf with a crew because the nanobots rebuilt it all, and it changed that aesthetic. And I haven't seen the newer series yet, so
So this is series 12.
Yeah, whatever it's on now. Because there was a weird one a few years ago. We had Series X, which was actually like a mini series of two episodes, I think it was, and they come to Earth, and it was very meta humor. They ended up on the Coronation Street set, walked into a shop, and there was Red Dwarf season 12 or something on DVD, and it was self-referential to them, but they'd come to Earth where Red Dwarf actually existed as a TV show, and it was kind of a jumping board, I think, to see how Red Dwarf would still land in the current climate, because we hadn't had it for such a long time. It was throw this out there and see if there's interest, and naturally there was, and Dave picked it up and made that into a TV show because it's now a Dave program.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of those. Red Dwarf will never end. It's got its ups, it's got its downs. But as a whole, you can't fault it, man. It's classic British TV, and I think they'll know when to stop when it's really been flogged to death.
So series 12 finished. It was last aired on the 6th of November of 2017.
2017. Okay, so yeah.
So it's due for another series, because according to Wikipedia, it first aired in 1988.
88, that's it.
And it finished on March of 1988. Then they made the second series in September of 1988, and that was aired in October of 88. In November of 89, and then December of 1989, it last aired, and so on. So they were literally making 2 series almost within 6 months.
Yeah, but if you look, then there's a big old gap. If you get to season 6, Or it might be even season 5 and then there's a gap.
There is a gap there, and then on season 9 they did these were all 6 in an episode up to season 7, and they did 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Season 9 they did 3 episodes.
That's the miniseries.
10 there was 6, 11 there was 6. This is in 2016, and season 12 was 6 episodes from October of 2017 to November 2017. So it's due, isn't it?
It is, but this is what they've always said with Red Dwarf, because it's there, it's ready, they're happy to go and do it whenever. If those actors have commitments in other places, they go and do that first. And that's the beautiful thing about Red Dwarf. There's such a tight community of actors and friends from that. I mean, I was reading that originally Chris Barry and Craig Charles hated each other in the first series. They detested working with each other on the first few episodes, and then they kind of cleared the air and now have become great friends over the years. And then you see it with Danny John Jules. They're such a close-knit bunch of actors and friends, and it's a lovely thing to see that when they're ready to do it and ready to go, they do. They just jump back in. It was good to see Norman Lovett back as Holly in the I think it was season 8. I think he came back. I didn't mind Hattie Hayridge, isn't it? I think her name is. I can't remember. She as Holly. She was all right, but she was no Norman Lovett. I mean, that guy he was a head on a screen, and 99% of the time, that is literally all you saw was his face, and the way he would deliver a line would have you bursting at the seams. He is brilliant actor, that guy, at delivering a line. Let's get off Red Dwarf, because I could sit here all night and talk about him, mate.
Well, Firefly, Jeremy, did you ever watch the American space western drama?
I loved it. Yeah, I watched
2002, 2003.
I watched Serenity first.
Yeah.
Because I used to subscribe to that. Actually, Britannia used to send you a video once a month, and it would just be a random one, and it turned up. And I thought, oh, what's this? And I watched it. I'd never even heard of the TV show. And then when it went on Netflix a few years ago, I watched it then, and I binged it in a day or two. It was just, wow, this is amazing.
It's only 13 episodes, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's fantastic. I'm still waiting for season 2. I don't know where that is.
Don't, Jeremy. It's too soon, man. It's still real for me. Damn it. Okay, it's not okay. This whole.
Incredibly, Firefly, when it was on TV in the States, it had an average of 5 million viewers per episode, which is pretty amazing,
mate.
And to cancel a show like that,
this is why nobody understands it. Nobody
made no
understands.
Sense.
We was riding the Joss Whedon wave of Buffy and Angel. He was at the peak of his prowess. He had this show showing on mainstream American primetime slot that was doing great numbers, and they go and pull it. There was no rhyme or reason for that happening. I mean, the only thing I can think of is production costs were drastically higher than that of something like Buffy. Because Buffy, to be fair, it's got its sets, but it's very grounded in its position. It's it's in a town, and if you want to cut corners, you can stick them in a crypt or you can stick them in a shopping mall. With Firefly, they've got to build these fantastical sets of Western off-world planets and spaceships, and that's the only thing I can think of is that it was pulling in the figures for money.
If that's true, then the post-airing success of the show led Josh Whedon and Universal to produce Serenity, which was in 2005. So if there was no budget for the series, then how come there was a budget for the film?
But when did Firefly end?
2002.
So there's a 3-year gap between.
I think so. Yeah.
Those 3 years were fans kicking down the door. That is why that film got made. Serenity was made by Joss Whedon.
2003, I think it was.
Yeah, it was made by Joss Whedon.
Won an Emmy award for outstanding special effects.
Give people an ending. Yeah. Give them some sort of resolution, and he was hoping that would springboard off into another 2 or 3 movies to finish it off as a trilogy. And it's a shame. Firefly is probably one of. There's a lot of things I miss from TV that started and never finished. Firefly is something that I think would have been in 10 to 20, 50, 20 years' time from now, people would be talking about the great shows of the past, and Firefly would be one of them. You know, like
I think they will anyway.
They will anyway, but like Battlestar, and we're sitting here talking about Star Trek, and all of these things get reboots and stuff. And I think in 20 years' time, it would have been in the position of being the Battlestar Galactica or the Star Trek if it had gone on for a few years. What it will now be looked at is that amazing series that never got enough time.
I don't think they reboot it because I think the cast were perfect. Nate Fillion is just perfect.
What have we seen Nate Fillion in since then?
Santa Clarita Diet.
Nathan Fillion, I see him in my dreams every night in a movie adaptation of Uncharted with him as Nathan Drake. That's where I see Nathan Fillion. He's been in loads of stuff. He was in Castle, wasn't he, as well?
Gina Torres,
she was in... What one was it? She's good. She was in, was it Sin City, I think she was in?
Possibly,
Gina Torres.
She could have been. Now, there's Alan Tudyk, of course.
K2SO, Steve.
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
Hey.
Now, I think probably the person who's going to do the best out of it is Marina Baccarin, isn't it? She's done incredibly well since then. Adam Baldwin.
I like him as well.
Jill State. Can't remember.
Jill State. She's Australian actress. She hasn't really done much since then, mate. I mean, if she has, it's probably been Australian TV or Australian movies. I've not seen her in anything major. She's good in that. As Kaylee.
Sean Meyer, Summer Glau, Ron Glass.
Summer Glau, brilliant. She was good. Sarah Connor.
She was Terminator, wasn't she?
That's right. Yeah. I think the thing that's sort of very similar to that was the sort of reboot of V, and it got to the second series and it ended so abruptly on such a knife edge, and then the third series didn't come, and it just left fans so frustrated and annoyed. And
I didn't watch any of the reboot of V. Didn't watch it.
Really good, mate.
Brilliant.
Really good. But I'll tell you what, this is
Marina
a good
Baccarat
talking point
that too.
that you've brought up here, because this is exactly, when we were talking earlier and you said about Titans, and I said to you, can't be bothered. And there's a reason for that, and this is a reason why I've fallen out of love with a lot of TV. And I now wait until something's finished, because I get invested in something, i.e. Terra Nova, prime example of this. Firefly is the same. But Terra Nova, that was prime real estate in my house, because that was the Venn diagram of perfection for TV. My wife and I both loved it, and it was on at the perfect time. And every week we would come home, we'd get excited to watch it, we'd sit down and we'd enjoy it together, and then we'd talk about it. And then we get to the end of the first season and it gets canned. And there's, we've just spent 23 episodes of this story of these cave markings on this planet that people have gone to, and this amazing lavish boat, and this is why it failed, because it was $1 million per episode to create. But it gets canned, and you think, well, what was the point in that? I could have, this story is never going to be finished. But then on the flip side of that, Supernatural, right? Me and Stacey loved that program. Again, Venn diagram of perfection. And we got to season 5. We stopped watching it because we overloaded, because we caught up 5 seasons in about a month. It was just binge watching 5 seasons of it. And then we waited for the next year to catch up. The next season 6 coming out. So we watched season 1 to 5 again. Watched season 6. And then season 7 comes out. And we stopped watching it at that point. This is getting ridiculous. They're now on season 13 of Supernatural. I have not got that time to invest over 13 years of watching the same program. Let it be a nice arc of a story that lasts 5 or 6 seasons. Buffy works perfectly for it. Angel works perfectly for it. Even The Next Generation is only 7 seasons long. That's a good 7 years of viewing, but it doesn't take it too far. And it contained all the Star Treks do. I think Voyager's 7 seasons as well. And that's where my problem lies with modern TV now. Unless I know it's going to end on this, like Game of Thrones was prime one, we knew it was going to end. They wasn't going to drag that out for too long, because we knew there was a definitive ending that they had in place from the get-go. And that's fine to watch. But when I sit there and think, I see this new program like Lucifer or something, that looks good, I'll start watching that. Then it goes and gets canned after season 1, but it may or may not be coming back when someone picks it up, and they do pick it up. But is it going to be as good? Is it? I don't know. So I'm going to wait, and this is why now I just wait until something's finished because there's no point. It puts me off.
You should watch Lucifer. It's brilliant.
I'll wait until it's all done, and then I'll give it a go, maybe.
One TV series that was done back in 1967 and only ran for a year was an American science fiction TV program called The Invaders. Either of you guys ever see it? Black and white science fiction show where there was an alien invasion with doubting officials and the public that it was actually happening. A little bit like the invasion of the body snatchers. I really think if you can go and check this out, that this could be one of those series that would go on because it's so brilliant, the idea that this was, and it's a little bit like They Live.
So they're covertly invading.
Oh yeah.
I say they're invading, and people are like, "No, I don't think it's really happening." There's like 40 green aliens running down the road killing people. Nah, it's not real.
in each of the many episodes, there was at least like one person, one individual, like a key figure, like a U.S. intelligence officer, that was made aware that there was an alien threat and would survive that episode, in which he or she was like introduced to these kind of leeches that of these aliens, and it really gripped you. If you can get to ever watch this, it was really superb. But we do need something, I think, that, you know, you're right, mate, that, you know, is it goes to the studios and they say, look, this is going to last 7 series. It's going to cost you this much. And I think this is why Netflix is so damn good at what it does, is because if you've written something and you've got the ideas for it and you take it to, say, the BBC, they are very slow on the uptake. They're not too sure. They and ah about it. And lots of these sort of studios like ABC and CBS and some of the other stations of the States, you know, their budget is much, much smaller, where Netflix take chances on things. They do a one-off, for example. They'll do like a Netflix special, and you'll go, that was amazing. They'll see how many downloads it gets. Then they go, okay, fine. We'll give you the money to make this into a 5-parter.
I was saying this before. I think Netflix are lucky as well when they can produce something themselves. You've got to think of the cost. I bet you there is a real reduced cost in distributing that on your own platform as opposed to other places. You know, they haven't got those costs to worry about. They haven't got to get involved with studios and advertising and stuff like that. They release it on Netflix, and look at Bird Box, for instance. 43 million views in its first weekend, right? And for what? What amount of advertising did they really have to do for that? I didn't see any adverts on TV. I didn't see no posters on buses. I didn't see, and yet that lands on the streaming platform that I'd say that 100% of people I know are subscribers to, and they all had access to that movie on day one, and they went and took that. Oh, he's playing with his earpiece. Look at that. You're telling me to shush. You're the one jabbing your finger into your microphone and making a load of noise, mate.
Sorry about that. I was just adjusting my microphone. Yeah, you're right. Totally right. Yeah,
they've got no. You know, you hear about these movies. Solo, for instance, wasn't it 150 million? Was it in marketing, or maybe more? But where was the marketing for Bird Box? Probably more people have seen Bird Box than Solo. So
we've got another series that was coming soon, which was a Korean vampire zombie show. It's zombies, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jeremy?
zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that trailer's going to drop if it hasn't already dropped.
There's 2 trailers for it already.
So there's 2 trailers for that that's dropped, and then, you know, people are already going to be like, that looks good. They give you a date, January 25th, and that's it. That you add it to your account, so that immediately, as soon as that comes out, it's going to be downloaded, or you're going to get it into your lists, and that's how it works. And it doesn't cost them anything.
Well, I'm sure it costs them something, but in comparison.
Well, it's not a worldwide promotion, is it?
Yeah, and this is what I say about this. Why I think the future. I give cinemas 20 years max for cinemas. I really do. I'm surprised. I think if it wasn't for people like me and yourself, you know, us guys here that really enjoy to see the whole spectacle, I think cinemas would be really dying out by now. I mean, I've worked in them. I've seen the insides of how things have changed, and I can see they're on a definite turnaround. If they don't close and they don't stop, they've got to do something drastic to change their ways.
So over the years, we've seen the sort of death of the Curzon company and Odeon. We've got The View now. We've got Cineworld. What's the other? Name some more cinema chains that we have.
You've got Odeon down in Chatham. We've got Showcase, View, Cineworld. Yeah, so I mean,
do you see one of those? But
well.
yeah, do you see any of those particular chains calling it a day? Do you think they might just say enough's enough? Which ones of those do you think that is more likely?
I think
that we might see struggle.
The first ones we'd probably see go would be Showcase from UK, because they're an American-based company. I could see them probably thinking stick to soil. Then I could probably see Cineworld going, and maybe View. I think Odeon have got fingers in pies. They're a brand name, aren't they? They're the Apple. Mm. They're like the Apple and the the Windows and stuff. I think they'll probably last a bit longer. View seem to be a bit more glossy as well with their brand and their advertising. There seems to be more money there. So, but I think whether they go or not as a whole is a different matter. But I don't think we're going to have these big complexes like we do now. It might be a case of your local theatre will still play movies, or you'll get a cinema that plays movies, but it won't be as busy. People, I mean, I do it. I begrudge paying. I know you've got a great deal with your card, Jeremy, but I begrudge paying 10 quid or 12 quid to go see a film at my local cinema for 2 hours entertainment, when I pay £6 a month and I've got all these films sitting there readily available to me, and they drop gems like Mowgli and Bird Box on my TV. I haven't even got a movie and it's there, but yet I can go and pay. Last time I went to cinema, I was to see Equalizer 2. Now, admittedly, I didn't pay for the ticket, which was a good thing, but I know which film I enjoyed more. And if I paid for that, I'd have been gutted.
I like the experience of it, though.
What if something like Game of Thrones decided to... What if there was a production like Game of Thrones, for example, that had 6 episodes that were showing regularly at the cinema? Do you think that would entice people to go? So, for example, let's say, Game of Thrones was an HBO series that was only shown at the cinema. So let's say, for example, in January they showed an episode, in February they showed an episode, in March they showed an episode, and so on throughout the year. 12 episodes, last one finishing in December. Do you think that would entice? Do you think that's a great idea?
No, it'd be a novelty to start. It'd be a novelty to start, mate. Sorry, I'm eating jelly beans there. It is. I've working there, and I saw the Doctor Who when they did Doctor Who premieres for the night that it started on the Babe, and
I was there.
Was you? You probably heard me cursing and call you a bunch of geeks as I was stomping around. But they were busy nights, and they were fun nights, and they were good nights. Well, I always enjoyed it when there was a bit of pageantry with it, people dressing up. I mean, we saw one bunch of lads had come, and there was like 7 of them, and they'd all dressed as different doctors, and that was really cool. And you could see who was who just by looking at them. They really nailed it, and they're great nights and they're fun, but they're all novelty. If that was every week or every month, that would drop off drastically within 6 months. It would be dying a death. You'd get your hardcore ones, the ones that you saw every month that come see it 3 or 4 times, but it would die a death. These things don't last forever. You get ones that manage to do it, like the Prince Charles Theatre in Leicester Square. They have made they've made their bread and butter out of doing this crazy stuff. They do these theme nights, so they'll do an Arnie action night, and it'll be like 10 Arnie films back to back that start on 5 o'clock in the evening, and you leave at 3 in the afternoon the next day, and you can take your sleeping bag and you wear your PJs, and people buy pizza and beer and sit there and watch it, and that's great, and that's their event things. But would you do that every month? Would you Yeah, you would, Jeremy, because it's just literally you, but not at home. but the point is it'd be great to go and see the Halloween. They did the Halloween movies. They did about, I think it was 6 of them back to back on Halloween night. That's brilliant. I'd love to go and do that as an event, as a something, and that's why that cinema survives. Every couple of months they do the Labyrinth Masquerade Ball, so everyone turns up in masquerade gear. They've got a David Bowie impersonator that comes on as a Goblin King, does a little bit during it. And that's cool. That makes it the pageantry and the fun of it all. But as for real cinemas, I don't know what it is they've got to do aside from dropping that ticket price drastically, which isn't necessarily their fault, because I know the profit margin that they get out of those tickets, and I can tell you one thing: there's a reason why popcorn's that expensive, right? So that isn't the cinemas. When people moan about the cinemas setting prices, as a general rule, it's not them. I know that there's one cinema in particular that you know I don't like very much. That is down to them, their ticket prices, because I'll tell you what, 17 quid for a chair that reclines is disgusting. Mm-hmm. You imagine, like, you, Jeremy, you got your 2 kids and the other half, right? If the 4 of you went to the cinema and you went to that screen just to sit down and watch a film for 2 hours without your card, you're talking £80 nearly, just to sit there and watch the movie. When you've bought the kids popcorn and drinks and yourself your nachos and your half a buffalo that you've taken into the screen, you're talking the best part of £100 for 2 hours entertainment. For that same £100, you could book yourself 2 nights in a hotel down by the seaside. You could get that money and you could buy tickets to a theme park and have a whole day's worth of entertainment. And that is where cinemas fundamentally fall down, and they fall on their own sword, because they try as they might to keep the ticket prices as low as they can, but whack the concessions up. And it's a vicious circle with them fighting with distribution companies and that, because I can't afford to take my daughter and my wife to go and sit a film, especially my daughter's 5 years old. If she gets bored half an hour in, there ain't no sitting there with her. She wants to go, and we've spent, say, 60 quid, 70 quid on going and seeing a movie for 2 hours. And I tell you what, I could walk in a charity shop, pick up a DVD of blooming Shrek 4 for 50p, put it on, and she'll be just as happy.
How much do you spend on the go to the cinema?
But I was talking, if you go to the one near me that we're not going to discuss on here, is if you want to go to the XLR seats, the reclining ones with the extra leg room. Now, admittedly, I'm not talking about premium seats here, but they're £17 to go.
Right, my God.
We've been to them. That's where we thought.
Yeah, we saw. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
but that's 17 quid. What? Just so you can stretch your legs out. Now, I know you two are tall. I'm not, so that's fine for me. I can sit in a normal seat on an aisle when I've got loads of leg room. But
that was a damn comfy seat.
Even if you're going to the normal seats, now I know they all do their deals and stuff, and they do their silver screen, which you two will be eligible for soon down at Odeon. You get a hot drink and a biscuit, and my dad goes, you can go with him. He'll give you all the information. I'll get him to message you. But you can go. I mean, even the one near me, that you're talking on a normal day, you're talking about £11, £12 a ticket. So if me, my wife, and my daughter, we go there and we buy concessions, you're talking 50 quid to go see 2 hours entertainment. That is disgusting.
Wow.
And that's where they've got to change, mate. That's if cinemas don't, they will die.
Well, about an hour and a half ago, news has come out that Aquaman has grossed $1 billion at the worldwide box office now. So James Wan's second film has done incredibly well.
It's made waves, isn't it?
288 million domestically, 742 million internationally, for a worldwide total of 1.2 billion. That's an incredible amount.
It's not a drop in the ocean, is it?
That's amazing. I mean, even its first weekend, it was 17 million. Its fourth weekend release, it was
quite wet behind the ears as well. Really, it's surprised that he could hold a film out.
It's amazing.
Quite a lot of people have gone to see it.
Now, do you think this is because it is it's part of the DC universe, or do you think it's purely simply because Jason Momoa is the main attraction?
I think
what it is that girls want to go and see a superhero movie because there's a half-naked Jason Momoa in it. And
it is.
Something else I would say is that Jason Momoa has done an incredible job of promoting this film. He's very approachable. He's very nice. He's very relaxed. He's been doing the whole caboodle when it comes to promoting this film. He's been everywhere and done everything, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I also think too, if it wasn't for Game of Thrones, where he was
Khal Drogo.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it's is it Ronan Dex Drogo or something? Was that his full name?
Khal Drogo.
Yeah, I think that has a massive amount to do with it as well. I think
it does because
really helped that.
Prime real estate at the moment for TV, isn't he? Is Jason Momoa. He's Game of Thrones, which is the biggest thing on TV, and one of the best looking things in that program is now doing movies. And we know, I'm not going to sit here and be, sexist, misogynistic in any way, shape, or form, but looks sell, and they do. The looks sell for film and TV, and you've got someone like Jason Momoa who makes even the manliest of men question their sexuality when they see him, because he is beautiful. He is a beautiful man.
No, I don't question mine when I see him.
No, exactly.
No doubt.
He's a beautiful man, and I mean. Yeah. Aquaman was a fork in the road for DC. This could have gone either way for their franchise, and then this. I said this to you before when DC were probably resting on their laurels about releasing anything for the future until this came out and they could see what it did, because they had great news with Wonder Woman. They've had some great news with this, and this will change the future of the DC franchise. These two movies, these will be what they rest everything on now.
Wonder Woman is a much better movie.
I did not like Wonder Woman, so that leaves me no hope for Aquaman. But it is down to Jason Momoa, and I think because Jeremy said it, and I know you were joking, and you've said it as well, Adam, but you put it together, and when I worked in the cinema, the Fast and Furious movies are $1 billion movies for a reason. They are date night movies. And they always were. They were on Friday and Saturday night, opening weekend. They would be full to the rafters of couples, because there is something for the men and there is something for the women in those movies. And whether that's be the content, the story and everything, it just works because of the way they do it. And they've got Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and Dwayne Johnson in those movies, and they have Paul for everyone. They are those stars. You stick Bruce Willis in a movie back in, the early 90s. That was the same thing. They are action heroes for some reason, pull people in as couples, as a whole. And that's what this is, man. This is one of these things that has just got that star potential pull. Everyone watches Game of Thrones. Everyone loves Jason Momoa. Everyone loves looking at Jason Momoa. It's got the trifecta. It's perfect for film, and that's why it's done so well.
Hopefully this lights the fire for under DC to just get the Batman, Man of Steel 2, Green Lantern Corp, then perhaps bring Snyder back for maybe a Darkseid, Game of Thrones style superhero battle. I think having other superheroes introduced will be fantastic, such as Martian Manhunter. I mean, you can chuck in a Flash movie as well. But I think James Wan has proved himself that he can produce a movie like this, and perhaps even now produce perhaps the Batman or Man of Steel 2 if Snyder can't do it. I think this is. Yeah, I think this is why. I think this green lights James Wan to get really involved in the DC universe. I think Jeff Johns is the sort of person as well.
It's only if he wants to do it.
That would say, look, I think you're perfect for the Green Lantern film, which needs a reboot, and I think he would be really, really good for it. I do.
Do you think the Green Lantern film needs a reboot?
I do, yeah. It needs to happen because he's a member of the Justice League.
No, I know, but I know it does because it doesn't fit in with this universe.
I also think he would make an amazing Flash film based upon the visuals I've seen of Aquaman. I think he would
make an amazing Flash film, but Ezra Miller does not make a great Flash. I waved the flag. I was there going, no, this would be cool. They'll do this right. He is Sheldon Cooper as a superhero, and it did not work for me. We had Grant Gustin playing Barry Allen in the TV show, who has nailed that character, and he's brilliant in it. I don't know if you've watched The Flash, the TV show. It's a shame that it crosses over with everything.
Loved it.
With everything else.
Loved it.
He's brilliant. I mean, I loved him in Glee anyway, Grant Gustin, and then I saw him in this, and the guy has got some chops on him. And when they brought Ezra Miller in, I thought, no, this is cool. I saw Perks of Being a Wallflower. I really liked him in that. It'll be different. And it's kind of like he watched Big Bang Theory and went, oh, that'll do. Right, and played this socially awkward weirdo, and it doesn't gel for me, that the way he portrays that character. Barry Allen should be intelligent, sophisticated, Peter Parker and Captain America, good boy sort of vibes going on. And I don't get that from Ezra Miller. And that's what he should have been. And it's really disappointing. I hope if they do reboot this and do Flashpoint, they get rid of him.
I agree. I think Ezra Miller's character was of the Flash. He seemed very sorry for himself, didn't fit in.
No. The only other way they can do this is get rid of him and do Wally West.
Well, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. So, what have you guys watched this week?
I'll let you go first.
I started watching Black Mirror.
And your thoughts and views on that?
Well, I talked to you two earlier, weren't I? And I said that I started watching the newer series, the USS Callister and Archangel. I watched those two. Stace caught a bit of it, wanted to watch it. We left it for a while. We started last night with the first season, the British, because it's kind of American now, isn't it? The newer series with Bryce Dallas Howard and that in it. But I was watching the original Charlie Brooker one for Channel 4, and we watched National Anthem, which is the first one with the Prime Minister, with the has to do a sexual act on a pig. Otherwise, the princess get killed. And then we watched the second one, which has got Daniel Kaluuya in it from Get Out. And man, the first one, the National Anthem, was uncomfortable to watch. Not in a bad way, yeah, but it's so well written. I was locked onto that screen, and I was so engrossed in this story. And I was arguing with myself in my head about how people were dealing with what was happening on there. And it was really well done, because every time I raised a question, they seemed to answer it. The way people were sitting in the pub watching the TV. I don't know if you've seen it, people listening, but stuff happens and there's a ransom and demands, and the Prime Minister has to do certain things with a pig live on TV. Otherwise, the princess of the royal family gets killed. And the way people were in that pub watching the TV, and they were all laughing and jeering. And I said to Stacey, when people wouldn't be like that. I think in the real world, you'd have a laugh when you first saw it on Twitter that someone's made ransom note and he has to have sexual intercourse with a pig. You'd be like, what? you kind of have a chuckle to yourself. I think that when the realization of what was happening sunk in, it's that car crash thing where you'd be looking and didn't want to look. It would make you feel sick to your pit of your stomach. And that happened in it. And I was really happy that they addressed it, because people were laughing and jeering. And then all of a sudden, it's going through the motions, cutting to different people watching it. And then someone went, no, turn it off. It's been going on an hour now. And people's faces had all changed, and the tone had changed. And it was so well written. I was sitting there visibly shifting in my seat, because I was struggling to get through what was happening. And it was a great resolution to the story. Nice little contained one episode story arcs. And like you said, tales of the unexpected, Jeremy, when we were talking earlier.
For me, it's more like sort of a modern take on the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, these are the things we compared it to earlier. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Daniel Kaluuya in the second one, I loved him in, wasn't it him in Johnny English, wasn't it? Didn't he play Johnny English's sidekick in the second film, I think? But then I saw him in Get Out, and I really enjoyed him in that. I thought he was a great little actor.
When I Bryce saw Dallas Howard as well.
That's in the newer series, that is.
Yeah,
that's the new ones.
Yeah.
But Kaluuya in this one, there's a scene right at the end of the second episode where he is standing there with a bit of glass to his throat, making a speech, and he gets so intense and so riled up, and it's so passionate. And I saw that, and I thought, this is the most amazing acting I've ever seen this guy do. It was on a Channel 4 TV show from 2005, I think it was, when it came out, and 2011 it might have been, actually. Sorry. But yeah, I saw him do that, and I thought, this is why this guy's got a job doing Get Out and is now in Hollywood. Because whoever watched that, if I was a film producer, I'd be like, this guy needs to be in my movie, because that isn't a performance and a half in that episode. And there is, and this is what was surprising me, is you've hit the nail on the head there as well, is the cast. We had, in last night's one, was Daniel Kaluuya and Jessica Brown Findlay from Downton Abbey, which is another great series if you've never watched it. Look at me like that.
No, I've never.
Like afternoon tea and Downton Abbey. It's a really good series. And then the first episode we had, God, it was, who was in the first episode? There wasn't, I don't think, anyone really famous in that one.
Michael Callow.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, sorry, yeah. And then then you've got, like you said, Bryce Dallas Howard. I saw some of the names.
Roy Kinnear, Lizzie Duncan. Yeah.
Rupert Everett was in an episode as well.
That was back in 2011. That first episode.
Yeah, and I mean, it is nearly retro now, so I suppose it fits. But
it does indeed.
I cannot wait to watch more of this now. It's one of those that when I first watched the other two,
Rupert Everett was in the second episode as well. I remember.
It was very
Jodie
American.
Whittaker.
Yeah, she's in the next episode.
Next one.
Yeah. Very American, the new series, and when I watched it, I enjoyed it.
Haley Atwell and Donald Gleason in episode 4.
Yeah.
What I love is that there's a different director for each one too, so it gives a really fresh new look at this very uneasy,
it's satire,
very
isn't it?
sharp. Yeah,
it's very satirical. It's each story is playing on something to do with modern culture, technology, or influence. And I mean, the first episode was obviously parodying the David Cameron with the pig story that came out when he was in university. But what it was an artist making a statement to do with the government and control, and I really liked that. The second one was about obviously this pop star type thing about churning out just mass producing hits and people that weren't actually looked at as people. They were looked at as money and dollars and just stuff they could sell and use and brand. And it's that modern, they were bringing them onto Pop Idol, and it's just, there's one bit where, I'm not going to go into it, but he's like, no, I don't really care about you singing. I want to see what so-and-so looks like, and tries to do, and that's essentially how the world kind of views this stuff, especially in media and things like that. It's a real good look into that. And I really liked Archangel, because that was about, I said to you, Jeremy, Archangel in the newer series is about wherever this child goes, there's this new nanny system that you can have. You can look on your iPad or your phone, and you can see through your child eyes, and you can see what they're going. You can always find them. And we're living in a world and a time now where we don't know what to do with this stuff. We are the first generation of parents that have to deal with smartphones, WhatsApp, groups, Facebook messaging, and all of this social media. Nobody's had, when we were kids, we didn't have that. I mean, when I was 14, 15, internet messenger had just become kind of a thing, and that didn't really last too long. And we don't know how to deal with this as parents. And so where does the line, where do you draw the line? Do you sit there and find, you've got to find your friends on your kid's phone? That's cool. I understand that, because you might be out and you can't find them, and there you go. You know where their phone is, or they've lost it, and that's why you have it. But is it okay to be able to see through your child's camera and see what they're up to 24/7? Probably not. But who are we to make those rules up? And that's why this is a really interesting show for me, because I like delving into these questions. So I look forward to more of it.
I really
watched the interactive one.
Bandersnatch. Yeah, it's got Will Poulter in it, hasn't it? And I love that guy. I can't wait to watch that.
Social media grief for it, but
he's quit Twitter over it, mate.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I love the interactive aspect of it. I was a bit disappointed with the end.
They are getting sued for it, aren't they?
Are they?
Netflix are getting sued for the Bandersnatch, yeah.
What's that?
something to do with copyright over the choose your own adventure format or something. Yeah, I'll have to look into it, but
all very strange.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed series 1 and 2. Series 3 I thought was pretty good. There were some fantastic episodes in that. I need to catch up and get myself up to date and watch Bandersnatch because I haven't seen it yet. That one was directed by David Slade, who's a really good director.
Yeah. Didn't he do? No, it wasn't him, was it?
I can't remember what else. Oh, David Slade did. He did Hard Candy.
Oh, that is such a good film.
30 Days of Night, the Twilight Saga. He did
30 Days of Night. Yeah.
He directed some episodes of Breaking Bad. He did
Hard
Hannibal,
Candy, dude.
American Gods.
Jeremy, if you've not seen Hard Candy, go out and watch it.
Which is Hard Candy?
It's got who's the girl in Juno? What's her name? Ellen Page.
Mm.
And I can't go into it too much because it will ruin it for you because it's got this great thing that happens in it.
It's a really fantastic American thriller horror focusing on a 14-year-old girl who's a vigilante and trapping and torture of a man she suspects of being a sexual predator.
No, you've just ruined the film there, mate, because that's the twist. You think at first she's being groomed by him. And that's the whole point of it. That's why I didn't want to say anything. Yeah. Yeah, it starts off with him almost looking like he's grooming her, and the twist in the movie is that she suddenly has him. Yeah, I mean, Hard Candy. Yes, yeah,
I didn't think that at all. I thought that was exactly what the premise of the film was about.
Yeah, but if you go in not knowing, which is possible, it does make for a better viewing. But there is a great scene in that movie. I mean, it doesn't matter too much, but there's a great scene in that movie where she's got him tied up, and she's giving him a vasectomy, a castration, and she's got the camera pointing at his Franklin Beans, and she's got the monitor set up so he can see everything that's happening, and she's giving him an anaesthetic and she's doing it. But it turns out she's not actually doing it, she's just putting him through the torture. And that whole scene, again, uncomfortable viewing. If you want uncomfortable, that is something else. That
it's a great film, definitely worth watching. Patrick Wilson, Sandra Oh's also in that.
Jason Bateman, isn't it? Is it Jason Bateman or is it just Patrick Wilson? Am I getting
Patrick Wilson?
It is Patrick Wilson. Yeah. Okay. It's been a while since I watched it.
It's a great film. Anything else you've watched this week? You've watched Black Mirror. Anything else you've caught up on?
I told you I was watching something last night and I cannot remember for the life of me what it was. It was late at night. I had it on. No. Couldn't have been that good.
Jeremy.
Yeah. I watched Train to Busan again.
Was it better the second time? I mean, it's already a fantastic film, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is.
Now you watched this with your son, didn't you? And now how old is your son?
Probably not old enough to watch that movie.
It's not, is he? No. But
the thing about it is
it's very endearing, isn't it? It's a very endearing film. It's quite charming.
It's more of an action movie than.
It's more an action film, yeah.
Oh, it's the fact that there's zombies in it. It's kind of a
by the by, yeah.
Yeah. There isn't. I mean, if you were to watch a martial arts movie like The Raid is probably a lot more violent and gruesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I think that the fact that there's zombies in it, it's not necessarily a horror movie. There's no gradual implied threat or anything like that. It's more of an action movie, and it's a good fun movie. And I'm pleased that he managed to enjoy a Korean movie as well. The fact that the subtitles didn't put him off, because I know that there are people that can't watch movies with subtitles, which is a shame. These people are missing out on some great movies. No one springs to mind, obviously, Andy, but yeah, he really enjoyed it. He was really caught up in it's a very emotional film as well.
Yes, very much so.
The
sacrifice as well that's in that film is really core. Really touches the heart, doesn't it?
And the bad guy in the movie, is one of the most horrible bad guys in any movie ever, which makes him great fun. And I really enjoyed that. I've watched
very selfish man. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not always a bad thing.
Well, isn't that a good trait for a baddie?
Yeah, which is why it's one of the best villains.
It's one of the sort of sins, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
To be that so selfish that it's detriment to people's lives.
Without having too many spoilers, there's a bit where an entire carriage of people are fairly selfish and quite keen to look after themselves. And when karma interjects and sorts some stuff out, Freddie was cracking up. He said, I've never laughed much at a film in my life. He said, I absolutely loved it.
It's a brilliant scene. That really brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he still wants to watch a lot of horror movies. I think the psychological aspect of horror movies that will scare him more.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or more horror movie based in the real world, like Halloween, something like that could and does happen from time to time. Or I think possibly even something like Poltergeist would be too scary for him.
I think so. Yeah.
Because again, it's a more of a thinky, could it happen kind of thing. Or maybe The Legend of Boggy Creek, which is one of the scariest films that anyone maybe when he's a bit older, I'll get him to watch that. Train to Busan, fine. Boggy Creek, no. The thing about the gore in Train to Busan as well is it's not particularly explicit. There is blood. But, you play Call of Duty, there's more blood in Call of Duty.
Mate, there's a difference between blood and horror.
Yeah,
gore and psychological horror.
Yeah.
You can sit and watch a film. The Stranger's a perfect example. Puts the creeps right up in that film. And there's hardly anything. It's just some people standing in doorways 90% of the time. But that scares the bejesus out of me. I can sit there and I can watch something like Saw or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one. Not a problem. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's just gore and silliness.
Talking of which, I don't think my son Jake has seen so much blood as there was in What We Do in the Shadows. There's a lot of blood in that. So yeah, Last Train to Busan, fantastic film. Yep. What else have you seen this week?
I've not actually watched a lot this week. I have to be honest. I've not been in a watching movies place. So I've not watched a lot. I feel a bit disappointed in myself.
It's bad when you start getting to the point that you can outpace Amazon and Netflix releasing stuff, isn't it?
Well, there is that.
So, since we last spoke, I finished off watching season 5 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated series. I picked up a copy of Silent Running on DVD, and it's shrink wrapped for 50p, which is a brilliant movie, and I'm really looking forward to watching that again. Starring Bruce Dern. If our listeners haven't seen Silent Running, okay, it shows its age, but it is a fantastic film, and it will really get to you. It's one of the best out there, to be honest. I think when it comes to sci-fi must watches.
Meaningful sci-fi, yeah.
It's very deep. Meaningful sci-fi. Yeah. It is very deep, yeah.
It's not sci-fi spectacular action. It's one guy pretty much on a ship.
A botanist, played by Bruce Dern. He's spent 3 years aboard the space freighter Valley Forge, and he's preserving the only botanical specimens left on Earth under a huge, huge domes on board the spaceship. And the company basically wants it to be shut down, blown up, destroyed, everything else. And he does his absolute best, to hijack the freighter and save it. And it really is a fantastic film. It's definitely worth seeing.
It sounds deeper than it sounds.
It's a lot deeper than it sounds.
The guy has spent his life dedicated to growing these things and tending them and looking after them, hasn't he? And he's gone a little bit stir crazy on that ship.
Yeah.
And I kind of get where he's coming from, to be honest. With the state of the world, it seems I'd rather be on that ship floating alone in deep space. Sounds all right, actually.
It's like it's a much more meaningful version of Black Hole by Disney. Then for my Xbox One, I managed to pick up a copy of Tempest 4000, the original Atari, very basic graphic game that I am just obsessed with right now. It's an absolute arcade legend. I managed to find this online. I was desperately trying to find an actual hard copy of the game, and which I did, and I picked it up for about £5, and I'm really obsessed with this arcade classic. I finished off watching the first series of Buck Rogers, and one of the things that I watched, which was Trainspotting 2, which I didn't enjoy it at all. I decided to give it a rewatch. I know that sounds really daft. If you don't like something, why watch it again? But I just thought I really do want to watch this again, and I did, and I actually enjoyed it a lot better than I thought I was going to. So I was pleased as punch with that.
It's probably that story that Jeremy told us last week that made you want to watch it again.
Possibly. So you're scoffing some jelly babies. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. Scoffing some jelly beans there. Are they a particular jelly bean? Oh, they're proper jelly beans.
Yeah, big old jar. Yeah, my wife got for Christmas. I'm eating them.
Lovely.
Who's starting a fight there? What was going on there? There was some sort of argument. Was that? Are you watching Beastie Benders?
He's just let his missus out the box and shut the door again.
Got a box tapping. I've Netflix decided it would start talking. So I've had to.
Can we bring that up here? Actually, this is a public announcement. This is a public request from Netflix. Can you stop putting autoplay on, please? Yeah. When I go on to something,
you can turn that off.
They can't.
Can you not turn it off? I was pretty. Can you not?
No, you cannot turn autoplay off on Netflix. It is the biggest annoyance. I'm just skipping through. I stop to do something, and it's just playing something in the background.
I don't think I've ever encountered that. So
our 17 listeners, right? All of you, if they've not changed it in a year, I want you to cancel your Netflix subscription. You can borrow mine.
So we've got Andy's 20 questions. Right, mate, off we go.
Well, I'm going to do it for you two.
Yeah, he's actually. We're going to have a swap round this week because I've got a new game that I want to play with you two, but unfortunately, my busy, lazy lifestyle, I forgot to do it. So I'll have it ready for next week. But because we played 20 questions last week, Jeremy's going to pose me and you the chance to do it this week. So
okay,
let's go.
Well, right, there you go.
So this is TV, movie, or video game, isn't it? So yep. I'm gonna go. Is this a TV show?
No.
Oh.
Is this an American movie?
No.
Is this a video game?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So it's a video game.
Is this video game from the 80s?
Yeah.
Well, mate, that was a wasted question. It's Jeremy. I don't think he'd know anything that came out on a console after.
But it is. He said yes, it is. Okay. Yep.
No, it's not a question. So we're on 4. Right. So this is a video game from the 80s. Was this a Sega console game?
Not originally.
Not originally.
Was this a Commodore 64 game?
Not originally.
Was this an arcade machine?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Does this arcade game involve a particular character, i.e.
You mean like a mascot character?
Like a mascot character.
Like a Sonic.
Like a big gorilla throwing barrels down.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
Okay.
But it is a mascot character. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Has this been turned into a movie?
No.
So there you go. It's not Rampage.
Is that a question?
No. I'm just thinking here. It's not Rampage. It's not. Oh, okay. Has this, ironically, this franchise got legs, but the main character does not have legs?
No.
It's not Pac-Man, right?
10.
Okay, this is hard because this is Arcade Machine and it's got a character in it.
Does this Arcade Machine, is the name of it to do with an insect?
No.
Is this a multiplayer arcade game?
No.
Right, that's good because that can eliminate so many things. It's not fighting games. It's not. This is going to be a classic. This is, isn't it? This is going to be like. It's not Tron because it's not a movie either. But it's going to be something like you say, like your Centipedes, your Tempest, your. I'm trying to say some names to see if I get a reaction out of Jeremy, but it's not going to happen. He's got a stone cold face of a killer. Right, okay. This is this is hard, man. Was this? See, I'm going to start delving deep here, and I don't know if you'll know.
Do you want me to give you a clue?
Was it produced? Is it a Japanese company production? It's produced.
I would say so, yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's Japanese. That eliminates quite a few things. Williams Electronics stuff.
Are there two characters that are the main?
No, it's a one-player game. If you're going to have a two-player in an arcade, it would have been two-player.
Okay.
Don't use that question.
Do you have one more question? Go on.
No, that's right. You go. Yeah.
When you're playing this game, do you have to hop on squares?
No.
It's not Cubert. Right. Right. No, I had a good question then. Just trying to think how to phrase it. What have you got? Go on.
When you're playing this game, do you have to hop on lily pads?
No.
It's not Frogger. Hang on.
Yeah.
Is the controls of this game conventional joystick and buttons?
Yes.
Sugar honey iced tea. It's not Afterburner. It's not.
Does the character wear a helmet?
I don't think so. I can't visualize. I don't remember seeing the helmet.
So that's good because if he doesn't wear a helmet, that's good because it's not going to be Donkey Kong and it's not going to be stuff like that, and it's obviously got a character, so it's not going to be a shoot 'em up. Because obviously you see the character.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but say you can't remember.
Andy, you and I, are we allowed to confer?
Yeah, we're allowed to confer.
See, I was also thinking.
Right,
I was thinking of Dig Dug. I was thinking Dig Dug.
You've got 3 questions left, and both of you have pretty much come up with it.
Oh crap!
Well, we haven't.
Has it got someone that is now a plumber in it?
Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah. There you
go. Okay. Right. Okay.
Well, yeah, I asked that.
Well, how can you say he hasn't got a helmet? You know Mario wears a hat.
And does he throw barrels down the ladder?
You didn't actually ask the question.
You didn't. You said, is it a mascot character like someone that would throw barrels down the ladder?
That's when I had to do my best ever poker face.
Yeah,
it was a very good poker face.
Because I started going down the line of, I don't know if you'd be that obvious, but that was a good one because that threw me. That was good. So we're 1 for 1. That's all right then. I don't know. Yeah.
And we even spoke about that earlier today.
Did we?
We did. Well, we did very briefly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
I like this kind of questions. It's fun.
My turn next week. Now then, we've got the draw for the item that comes from Last Exit Nowhere, and we posted this question, didn't you? Well, you did, Andy, on our Christmas special.
We
and
did.
That question was,
what was it that Clark Griswold was going to use his bonus check for, and he put a down payment deposit on in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
And the answer was
a swimming pool. But he actually got a Jello of the Month membership card.
Now, we got some answers given to us via our Facebook group and our Facebook page, but we also got a lot of messages via we got them via Twitter, we got them via email, etc. So I put the number of people who answered that question into a bag, and that was 36. And I'm going to pull out a number, and that number is number 19. Who's number 19 on that list?
19 is the one and the only Rick.
Fantastic. Rick, if you could message us, you can message us. Well, how can he message us, mate? To get at his size and get a T-shirt sent to him from Last Exit Nowhere.
Well done, Rick. And thank you for entering.
Rick, if you can get in contact with us, any of us guys, and we'll get your details and we'll pass that on, and you have won yourself a fantastic T-shirt from Last Exit to Nowhere. Do go and check out their merch. There's some fantastic stuff. There's T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, you name it, and they cover absolutely everything from movies and TV, and it's a really fantastic store. So well done to you, Rick, for that. Well, guys, is there anything else we want to add for this week's show before we say goodbye till next week? What about the sad news that one of probably our best British tennis player, Andy Murray, may be leaving us from the world of tennis?
I'm not ready to talk about it, mate.
No,
not ready to talk about it. No. That man was part of one of the greatest weekends of my life, and to see him the way he was in that press conference, and a lot of people give Andy Murray a lot of stick because of the way he carries himself in interviews and things. He's not the most animated, and he's not the most
charismatic.
Yeah, thank you, charismatic. But he's a genuinely lovely fellow. If you follow him on Instagram and see a lot of the stuff that he does for women's rights, for the charity works that he's part of, he is a really nice, down-to-earth guy. And it was heartbreaking. The post after he announced his plan to retire this year, his next Instagram post was a picture of him with his mum, and it said, it's along the lines of, when you're down and you've had a day like I have, the only thing that ever makes you feel better is a hug from your mum. And it's heartbreaking, man, because I don't know what this guy's going through, and the tributes that are pouring into him from Nadal, from Federer, from Djokovic especially. I mean, those two grew up together. They were born weeks apart and have played tennis on the junior circuit, and they've grown up together. They're good friends and good rivals. And I saw a quote today from Djokovic saying that they're all going to feel the impact of him leaving. They don't expect it when you're in that top tier of tennis. When stuff like this starts to happen, it's worrying for them as well. And I'm a massive tennis fan and a massive Andy Murray fan. And for me, this is heartbreaking because I saw this happen when he had his hip problem 2 years ago. I even said to my dad, I don't think we're going to see him back. And you do see it with certain people. Nadal had wrist surgery. Djokovic has had surgery. And they all managed to bounce back. But this is clearly too much for him. Like you said, he cannot see himself being able to play through the pain for another 2-3 years to get back on form. It took Djokovic 2 years to get back to where he was. And we're not going to see that with Murray, unfortunately. And I think he knows that. Heartbreaking.
But you don't want to talk about it.
Mate, because it does upset me. I was real downer for it. I don't want to talk about it because I'd love to see the guy play for the next 10 years. Like, it's essentially got in him, because tennis players can last a long time. Look at Federer. I mean, he's pushing 40 now, and
me too.
he's also been he's had some fantastic sentimental stuff thrown in from the great Billie Jean as well, and greats like that, coming out and speaking about him has been fantastic. But he will go down in one of the greatest sportsmen Britain's ever produced, and one of the greatest tennis players.
Yeah.
So
I have a Murray related story. Billy Murray is his name. He's an English actor who was in London Burning and EastEnders and loads of other stuff, but he does a lot of the voice for the Call of Duty games.
All right.
When we were leaving the shopping mall today, I pretty much bumped into him, and I was like, "Oh, I know that he's an actor. I know he is." And it's been driving me up the wall, and I finally found out who he is.
It was there you go.
Billy Murray. I saw him today.
Well, my story for Murray was that when my wife went into labour with my daughter, we was in the hospital, in Tarrant Valley Hospital, and Djokovic was playing, and it was to see who went through to the final of Wimbledon. And that was the time that Murray got through, and I was sat there the whole time she was in labour watching it on my phone. And then we got home that weekend, and it was my birthday, and we just brought my daughter home from the hospital, so I was over the moon with my daughter being there. It was my birthday weekend. We had the whole family round, and Murray was in the final, and that was the first time in 77 years that someone had won, an Englishman, a Brit, had won a Wimbledon final. And that was a weekend and a half for me, man. Like, it was just amazing to come home with that with my daughter. I mean, I remember it was the tension in my house was palpable. Even if you're not a fan, when you see stuff like this happening and you know what's riding on that, 70 odd years of a Brit not winning Wimbledon, you see one in the final that's got a good chance and is doing well. You get caught up with it, don't you? I'm not a football fan, but the World Cup's on and I enjoy watching the football. It's, it's a bit of fun. It's an event. And we had this newborn 4 or 5 day old daughter in my house, 15 of us standing there trying not to shout at the TV because she was asleep. Right. And every time something happened, I had to run into my garden and shout loudly out in the garden and come back in the house. And yeah, it was great. It was a great thing to see. And I mean, I'm glad that I've lived in a time where I get to see that. So,
well, my Murray story probably cost me about 70 quid because before I let the Murray Mint decrease in size by 50%, I decided to crunch it immediately and broke a tooth.
Oh.
So yeah, heartbreaking, I know, but that's the sort of pain you have to go through.
Yeah. I would like to take this opportunity to say
I'll never
Andy.
have a Murray Mint again. So
if he ever listens to this, thank you for the hard work, the effort, and the memories, and well done for everything because you've been great.
You've been listening to Red Drink Podcast.
Don't pull that face at me, Jeremy.
I'm not into tennis in any way, shape, or form.
It's the only sport I like. It is literally the only sport.
I say that. I used to. We're not going yet. You shut up. Look.
West Ham won this weekend.
When I was young, living with my parents, we used to watch Wimbledon, and I remember Boris Becker winning and stuff like that, and going out to back garden and knocking a foam tennis ball around. But I've just not been into it for donkey's years. I don't know.
You need to get a swing ball in your garden. Get a swing ball. And that'll kick it off again.
I'm lethal at swing ball, so I hit it too hard, and I decapitate people. People won't play swing ball with me because I hit it a bit hard and I break it. And people.
Love it.
I'll start again.
I used to play swing ball quite a lot when I was a kid. We did used to play swing ball around my nan's house, actually.
Yeah,
whenever we went great. She actually made a little mini golf thing. He's getting really annoyed here. But she made a little mini golf thing in her garden. It was great. She used to dig a hole in the ground for us, put a flower pot in it, and give us one of my granddad's walking sticks. We used to play mini golf in the garden, and we had a swing ball there. But I remember as a kid, there was one time when my nan and granddad let me and my brother, being 10, 11 years old, make giant wooden swords out of 2x4s. I nearly ended up in hospital one day. My brother swung it round as I bent down and it clonked me right in the side of the head. Put me out cold I was in the garden. Yeah. Explains a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam. You can go now if you want. Say goodbye to everyone.
Shall I tell you about
Unless
I've
there's
never
anything
played
else
mini
for the rats.
golf. Is mini golf good?
Lovely, mate.
I-
I do that.
oh.
Please.
I had a
I'll
honestly,
have to have a go with you.
I had a very surreal Wimbledon final.
Oh, you just don't stop me, Adam.
Which was I watched the Bjorn Borg John McEnroe final whilst listening to Jeff
You
Lynne's
can't
War
be
of the
serious.
Worlds. I mean, how weird was that? I watched that whole of War of the Worlds whilst watching the Bjorn Borg McEnroe final with the headphones on.
You cannot be
Very
serious.
strange. Yeah, I was.
He's over the line, man.
So seriously, thank you very much for listening to Retro Inc. And
Thank you very much.
do check out the other podcasts on the Star Wars
great.
Commonwealth Network. We
Star
do love them all.
.co.uk, isn't it? Or .com? One of the two. I can't remember.
StarWarsCommonwealth.com.
Yeah.
And it was great meeting you guys today. Thanks
was
very much
lovely.
for meeting up. It was really lovely. Thanks for exchanging gifts.
Well, we spoke. Jeremy I think he was just too down with the kids, and he ended up sitting at their end of the table, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what the cool kids.
That was after
talking about.
disappearing for like 20 minutes somewhere.
We did actually wonder where you went. You did disappear for a while.
We thought you went to the boys' room.
Because one of us decided they wanted something different to everybody else. So I had to stand in two lots of queues, which was great.
So
Lucky
thanks very
me.
much. Thanks very much for
It was a lovely
today. It was
burger,
lovely. It was lovely. It was
Right,
indeed.
I'm finished. I'm going to stop now.
Let it wrap up. Just making me laughing.
Oh dear. Thanks for a great show, guys. We'll catch up with you next week, and thanks for listening.
Bye.
Be seeing you.